Welcome everyone out there to the second edition of the Friday Lunch with UbiPark. We've got an awesome panel signed up to talk to us today. We've got Ed Myers, who's the General Manager of Partnerships at Placie, a new mobility as a service app that car sales have backed that's hitting the market soon. We've got Silje Troseth, who's the Vice President of APAC for QFree, who'll tell us a little bit around what they're doing in the smart city and mobility space. And Dylan King from Transport for New South Wales, who's the innovation lead there. Now, this is an interactive session. We're all here to have a little bit of fun, so we'd love you to, tell us that you're here. Just put a comment in the social media platform that you're on. They'll be able to bring that on the screen. So please let us know that you're out there. Any questions you've got for the panel, also please put them through the social media comments, and we'll definitely address them as they come up. So again, just have a bit of fun. We'll learn something a bit today, and we'll get get going. So I'll bring Ed onto the screen. Hey Ed, how you going?
Going awesome, very well, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. I might share my screen here and play a little video that might sort of tell the audience a little bit more about Placie. So just bear with me a second while I pull that up.
Sure.
And see if we can get that going, mate. So
good.
Here we go.
There we are. I can't hear any sound, but
I can't hear sound. Hang on. I'll just pull it up again. Hang on a sec.
All right.
I'll try and get that up again, mate. Hang on one sec. And
no dramas, mate.
I'll just do. Maybe you can tell us a little bit, Placie, while I'm doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Walter mentioned, my name's Ed Myers, and I'm the General Manager of Placie, which is a new mobility as a service app. Mobility as a service, or MaaS, as some people refer to it. It is a little bit of industry jargon, but essentially what it is, it's a mobility app that we call it the Expedia of ground transportation. So what you can do is you can book over 8 different modes of transport, and giving a consumer the option to choose exactly how they want to get from A to B. And so that includes rideshare, taxi, parking, car rental, car sharing, micro-mobility, so e-scooters and bikes. And then lastly, we can also integrate with public transport. So hopefully you'll be able to see the video in a minute, but it will give you, I guess, a good understanding of how Placie works. And it's, it is quite a unique app. It's quite new, but I guess one of the key differentiators of Placie is having that one account. So what that means is you sign up with Placie, you put your email, your mobile number, and your credit card, and then you've got the ability to book and ticket and pay for all of our private modes of transport without actually, sending you to another app. So similar to other apps out there, of I guess our competitors, they'll deep link you to the other app. You need an account with ABC Taxi or XYZ Rideshare, whereas with Placie you have that one account and you can book, ticket, and pay. In our experience.
All right, Ed. Take 2, mate.
Yeah.
I've got it sorted out this time, so let me just bring it on. We'll have another crack.
Okay, Placie says the fastest way to the client meeting from home is drive to the station and train. So fast, I have time to book a table at the new noodle place. I'm trying to concentrate, but all I can think is noodles. Bus, walk, train. Had me in Chinatown for a driver. This guy, he had me at Megarang.
Haven't done a great job of that video, mate.
That's right, mate. No, we can see it.
Slow way by day means we can live all night. Until tomorrow, when the whole cycle starts again.
I've lost it there, so
that's all right, mate. So I guess what the video is really showing is that we really give the consumer every option possible, and what I mean by that is let's use the case of someone in the suburbs going into the city. You're able to see, okay, well, a rideshare is going to cost me X and take me this long. A taxi is going to cost me this much. Or I can actually drive in and pay $30 for a park that's close to my office space. Or I guess something that is quite unique is we also have the ability to integrate private modes of transport with public modes of transport. And what I mean by that is we can show you all the public transit routing. So, train, ferries, buses, trams, etc. We can also link that to private transport. And I think that's a really key, the key difference of what Placie can do is, so a great example is you're in the suburbs, you want to go to the city, a rideshare is going to cost you that. But then we can actually say that there's going to be a lot of traffic between, just the fringe of the city and to actually get into the city. So what that means is we can say, hey, it's actually going to be quicker and cheaper to get a taxi from your house to a train station, probably 2 or 3 stops before the city, jump on that train, that'll cost you $10, jump on that train to the CBD and then walk that last mile. And that train costs, let's say we call it $4. So it's a $14 journey, instead of, and it might take you 20 minutes, instead of a 30-minute journey that might cost you $35 in a taxi or a ride share. So it's really that one-stop shop, I guess, for all your mobility needs.
Yeah, so I mean, this is something obviously a little bit different to what car sales has been normally doing. Can you tell us a little bit around why they invested into this sort of technology?
Yeah, for sure. So car sales, I assume most people in here are from Australia. I'm sure they're familiar with the brand carsales.com. Carsales.com is a leading tech company. They took classifieds online, over 20 years ago. And I guess, they'd classify themselves as the mobility marketplace of today. And what we mean by that is, you're buying and selling cars. Aussies absolutely love cars, more cars per capita than, any other country in the world. Historically, mobility has been a car, but I guess, being an innovator and a market leader, they very much look at, where is the industry going in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time. And I guess that's why Placie is being created, because what they're trying to do is create the marketplace of the future. And obviously that is on, autonomous vehicles, shared services, on-demand services. So car sales is really, I guess, taking their strengths of what they did with their car sales platform, B2C aggregation, and doing that just on an app and a very different form of mobility.
So you're obviously announced that at the AGM last week, and so the stage is now there's a beta release of the app coming. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're hopefully we've got a beta release in the app stores early December, which will be great. And then I guess the beauty of mobility services, the app will only get better over time, because as each month goes, we're going to be adding more and more partners into the app as we evolve. So we've got a huge tech queue at the moment, which is exciting and also daunting, but huge tech queue, and look forward to bringing on more and more partners as we go live and progress.
And we were able to announce our partnership obviously at the same time. Ed, and parking will hit the app sort of early next year.
Yeah, that's the plan, Austin. We think parking is really interesting, especially in a post-COVID world. As we mentioned before, public transport, capacity is at all-time lows, and it's really interesting to see, people changing different modes of transport to get, whether it's the office or to your friend's house or whatever that might be. So yeah, we're really excited to be able to offer parking as an alternative and actually see what parking is against a rideshare or public transport.
And I think it's exciting that you're actually going to embed our technology into the app. So you were talking about it before, where you won't be deep linked, you won't be sent to an online booking solution. You'll be actually able to do the entire transaction from the Placie app. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's that's key. You don't want to, we don't want you to have all these different accounts of all our different partners. We've got such good relationships with all our partners that you can actually book that experience within the Placie app.
That's great. What might get you to stay there while we bring Celia on?
Oh.
Ed? Hi, Celia. How you going?
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Austin, how are you?
Good. Not too bad. You can hear us okay?
Yeah, all good.
That's good. Maybe just give us a rundown on QFree, Celia, and your role. Obviously, we've known each other for a long time, but you've obviously got a big play. You've been a tolling company, but you sort of branched into smart cities and mobility.
That's right. So I'm the general manager for QFree here in Australia and the VP for the APAC region. I've been working in ITS, so Intelligent Transportation Systems, for the last 15 years. And as a technology provider, QFree really focuses on delivering technology and help finance infrastructure, new infrastructure to our clients, which then will help reduce congestion, pollution, and provide safer roads as well. So I'm originally from Norway. I worked across Europe, Southeast Asia, and also in Australia, delivering ITS projects to both the private sector and the public sector here in Australia. But to be honest, when I started out in transportation, I did ask myself, how did I end up here? It wasn't very sexy back then, but I have to say that's changed a lot now. I'm really proud to represent a Norwegian technology provider here in Australia, right on the other side of the world. With providing systems, that save lives and provide better commute for people. I think it's an industry that really delivers real value to people and communities, and that's very inspiring. So QFree started out about 35 years ago in Norway to create sustainable traffic solution that ultimately would transform the way people and goods move. And that's still QFree's purpose today. The reason why we exist as a company is to solve challenges around mobility. And we do that in close collaboration with our partners and our clients. Today, we're a global company with offices around the world and every continent. And we have three main business areas. Like you said, tolling, one of our main business areas, traffic management, and also parking. And that's how I know you. So I think we probably met in 2012, 2013, Mostin. We won the parking guidance contract with Crown Casino, and you helped. You were the project manager, and we delivered that system together. And it's still running today. So we did a good job there.
No, that's right. We did do a good job there. So, Silje, parking, you're talking about toll roads being sexy. Parking's obviously a very sexy industry as well. So
absolutely. It's all about, helping people move quicker around, finding a car park, reducing that congestion around the car park and making life easier, So, no, absolutely. So within QFree now, we've sort of moved a little bit away from talking about portfolio of products and solutions and business segments, and we refer to our purpose-based program, which is QFlow, QClean, and QSafe. And these programs are linked up against our selected sustainable development goals that we have chosen. So QFlow, for example, is all about optimizing how people and goods move, which we do with electronic toll collection, corridor management, traffic management solutions. QClean is stimulating sustainable transportation with road user charging and urban geofencing. In Europe, for example, we see a lot of low emission signs around city areas. And QSafe, really saving lives, making our roads safer through V2V or V2I communication and enforcement systems and active transportation solutions as well. So everything that we do, our mission, our value statements, is really tied up into these purpose-based programs. So that's a bit about QFree. Yeah,
that's awesome. I might grab Dylan on, and we'll get not leave him out in the background too long. How are you, Dylan?
Very well, Martin. How are you?
Not too bad. So you're obviously the innovation lead at Transport for New South Wales. Maybe tell us a little bit about your role.
Yeah, for sure. So I work in this team called the Open Data and Innovation Team at Transport. And essentially at Transport, well, the New South Wales government has this thing called the GIPR Act, which is basically about proactively disclosing government information to the public and making it as useful as possible. So as part of that, we have an open data policy. And as part of that, our team kind of proactively discloses as much valuable information that's kind of safe and de-identified as possible to the public. So people all the way from like business, researchers, policymakers, a whole bunch of different user groups use this information. And my role specifically is around the innovation piece of it. So a lot of this is really valuable, particularly to people who build, transport operations and also digital products related to transport. So my role is to, one, engage with those people like app developers or, ITS systems, whatever it might be, help them use our data more effectively. And also we run these specific innovation challenges where we go out to market with a customer problem and just say to the market, look, you guys are nimble, innovative, you're the experts. We've got this really valuable data set. We'll give them a bit of seed funding and a bit of support from our SMEs and, people internally at Transport for them to build really valuable customer products for the people of New South Wales. And I basically manage those relationships with the third parties.
So open data platforms, I think it probably means different things to different people around the place. Can why are Transport for New South Wales and our governments investing heavily into open data platforms, and how does it really help our city?
Yeah, I think it's because it belongs to the public. So our whole goal is, to serve the public, and we're very, very, customer focused, specifically at Transport for New South Wales. So we have a really kind of sharp focus on what is it that we can invest in that will give the biggest bang for our buck for our customers. So that's all the way from these gigantic infrastructure projects like WestConnex, NorthConnex, the Sydney Metro, etc., light rail, all the way down to really simple things like, we might release, a real-time data set so people can understand the real-time locations of buses, ferries, trains around New South Wales and easily consume that into a whole bunch of different public transport apps. So we're not prescribing to people how they use the data or what's best for our customers. We're just saying we want them to have as many options as possible, and we want the integrity of that data to be really solid and really useful. And we want to do what we can as an agency to kind of make sure the end customer really has the best experience in terms of transport.
Well, so does, going out to innovators and startups and the likes, you get probably solutions that you may not have thought of sitting in at Transport or government.
Yeah, definitely. So we do have our own digital products. So we've got a trip planning website, we've got our Opal Travel app, we've got a whole bunch of different customer-facing services, which is great. But we know that basically we can't do everything, and we don't really have a remit as a competitor to other companies. So we're really happy to support the ecosystem, really happy to kind of give as much value to them as possible. So engaging with them and helping them use our data, it creates value on both sides. So it allows us to, as you were saying, get a whole bunch of different interesting ideas that we may not have ever thought of internally or be able to support in terms of like creating new programs and new, product teams to build those. But it allows us to, it allows us to kind of stay at the cutting edge of like transport technology. So we can see trends happening around the world, and without having a whole big internal program and, a lot of large bureaucracies like ours, we've got 28,000 employees. It can be quite cumbersome, getting new products up and launched. So with this innovation stream, what we can do is see big global trends like mobility as a service is a great trend. And we ran an innovation challenge on that a couple of years back. We can see those trends and we can say, look, what is it that we can do for the market that we've already got that can support that? Put that out, and along with that support and these innovation challenges, we can really bring people through, like startups or big tech companies, small tech companies, whoever it is, to really kind of, build new features or whole new products and iterate on their product offering to kind of allow basically the people of New South Wales to have access to those, cutting edge global trends.
That's great. Well, we might, we're obviously not getting a lot of engagement for our audience out here, so we're keen for people that are watching to, flick through some comments. Just let us know you're here. I see Matt from Giant Tech is watching, and we've got Adrian Bird. Hey, Birdie, how you going? You might know Adrian Dillon by the look of that. Here we go. Can you please explain your focus on driver safety? We might start with that one, Dylan, for you.
Yeah, driver safety is really based around the road rules. So ideally, like what we try to do is basically promote really safe use of the roads. So however, we've got large policy teams, and we've got a Centre for Road Safety and a whole bunch of different divisions within transport that kind of promote the use of safe driving. We've got a safety crash lab which promotes testing of the latest safety equipment. So it's basically basically anything to do with safety aligns with the legislation that's out there. We kind of support them. We run a number of like significant programs in various different areas around driver safety. But that's quite a kind of separate division to where I'm at. So I can't talk about kind of too much of the specific programs, but a really cool initiative is to check out the Crash Lab. So if you just Google Transport for New South Wales Crash Lab, you'll get to see some really thorough testing of basically new driver safety technologies.
That's
Can I
great.
just jump in to what Dylan was talking about earlier about open platform approach? It's really music to my ears. In QFree as well, we believe in open standards, and all our technology platforms and partnerships have open data approach. It's really a central part of how we're working, and I think it's really the only way to foster collaboration, to open up, have APIs. You can drive a certain amount of change and innovation by yourself, but you really need to work collaboratively to reach all those goals. I think it's really good to hear that we also have the same approach to open data.
And maybe that's a good plug-in, for us is that, what Transport for New South Wales has created with this open data platform is that, we can actually, as a mobility as a service business, we can actually enhance our customer experience because Transport and other businesses like QFree are creating this open data. So we can actually say, well, this train carriage is really busy, but this one isn't, or you can track the bus coming and you can do all that. The more open data that the governments and businesses like QFree create enhances the customer experience, not just for their own apps, but also for our apps and our competitors' apps. So it's we absolutely love what's been happening in the industry.
I think it's a really important point. We're using open data from Dylan's platform, but we're also using it from the City of Melbourne's platform, City of Adelaide, and just getting that information out to the consumer, just as something as basic as occupancy data at a car park, just telling people that they actually can get a space there and cutting back on the congestion of them trying to find a parking space is really important. And it's funny, there's a lot of cities and councils that won't sort of push that data out live. And I think they're sort of missing the point, helping, especially in traffic congestion for us, it's about being part of the solution, not part of the problem. If you don't share that data, then you can't actually, be part of the solution going forward. So I might move on to, I'll start with you, Ed. What do you see the biggest trends in mobility? I mean, obviously you've been looking at it now really closely over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And COVID sort of a hit as well. So what are you seeing the trends of say now and what are you expecting for the future?
Yeah, for sure. It's something we think about regularly, and especially in sort of a post-COVID environment, where are the trends going? And I think, it's an unusual one, but I mean, habit is the biggest trend that is changing at the moment. The concept of getting the 8:15 train to then arrive in the city at 8:50, grab your coffee and you're at your desk by 9 o'clock. That's gone. This flexible work arrangements. Things are changing, and a great example of that is mode shift. There's a lot of shift in modes. I mean, bike store. I read a quote the other day. Bike stores would normally hold about 200 bikes. In Melbourne, and they're down to like 10 bikes in their shops. Everyone is just swarmed to bikes, right? And obviously there's a little bit of trust issues there with the public transit system. We're well aware that they do clean it, and there's actually some of the safest environments inside some of those trains and buses. But the public perception is that I'm more than happy to go and buy a bike or ride to work. So that's an interesting trend around sort of that modal shift. And then you've obviously got the emergence of micromobility in cities. Brisbane, Adelaide, I think Canberra's recently launched as well. There's definitely a shift for this micromobility trends. Again, sort of, it's really that breakdown of habits and saying, that standard train that I always used to get, maybe I'll e-scooter to the train station now instead of driving and leaving my car there, or maybe I'll get off a stop earlier and walk to work. So they're probably some of the big things that we think about at Placie.
It might be debatable if they're cleaning the trains properly at Feline after the few things that have happened over the last couple of weeks, Ed. So I get where you're going. Obviously, we've seen a shift, and some of the conversation we had with you guys over the last couple of months has been around how people have shifted back to private cars from public transport as well, around that confidence.
Yeah, very much. I mean, our parent company is carsales.com. Pre-COVID, they had about 250,000 cars online. At the moment, it stands about 130,000 cars, which really means that people buying either cars for the first time, they're not trading in. A one-car family is now gone to a two-car family. Having said that, though, in a post-COVID world, I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens to traffic. Obviously, with a lot more cars on the road, I reckon that it will shift back again to I don't want to sit in traffic for an hour to get to CBD. I'm actually gonna get back on that train because now I trust that public transit system, and we're in that post-COVID world so I think there will be an interesting shift in terms of that's definitely where the trends are at the moment. But I think when traffic starts to increase and it starts to get pretty hairy on the roads, people will be open again to changing habits and changing modes of transport.
And it is getting easier now in the cities as well. People are starting to move around a lot more. And like you said, Australia is a very car-driven society. We have a long culture. We love the car, big cars, and driving them around. In Sydney, there's over 2 million trips under 2 kilometres every day in our car. So it's a long culture of that. But I have seen a trend also, or a big spike in active transportation during the pandemic. So people are walking more, cycling more, which are great ways to go out and do exercise, especially now that we've seen in Melbourne and also in Sydney, in the midst of the pandemic, that the gyms were closed. It's a good way to go out and get exercise, and you also feel safe on a bike because you're socially distant from other riders. So it's I think that's good to see. And also, but even before the pandemic hit, traffic planners and authorities had this on their agenda already to put up more bike lanes. But this has now been prioritised quite a lot. In Sydney, for example, we have quite a few pop-up bike lanes around the city, around the area where I live, and in Melbourne as well. I think there's a 40-kilometre bike lane, which is really, really positive, trying to protect those vulnerable road users when there's a huge surge in active transportation. And I think that's a little bit where QFree can come in and help as well with the detection system and monitoring system of who is actually using these active transportation sites. When are they using it? Which mode? Is it a bike or a scooter or walking? And trying to, which will let authorities and council, serve those people even better and keeping them safe, alerting motorists that there's a bike around, or the other way around, alerting motorists that there's a bike rider around in dusk, which can be hard to see. So, and also, displaying information back to the bike rider to say that, you are number 520 today riding, and encourage people to get out more and be more active. I think if there's one thing that can come out of the pandemic is to get people out and about and exercise more, then I think that's a win-win.
And what about you, Dylan? You're seeing, obviously you've been doing mobility innovation challenges now and other parts of things. How you see the trends maybe now and moving forward for getting people around the city?
I think long term, the big trends are electrification and automation. So we're going to start seeing a huge shift in terms of electrification of vehicles. And then once again, automation, but that's many years away. More immediately, there's definitely a shift in behavior. Essentially, customers these days are, they've got a lot more flexibility around work. So we're not going to see as heavy a peak in the morning and afternoon, and then we're not going to see that peak sustained throughout 5 days a week. So really for us, the focus is allowing people to have more options and allowing them to, as a lot of mobility providers, as far as how their customers get from A to B as easy as possible. One of the things, as was mentioned earlier, is that active transport is becoming really important. And it will be really important over the next couple of years as we come back out of the kind of pandemic. We've been popping up a bunch of pop-up cycleways. There's plans for more. I think that, those are short-term pop-ups, but I think that, depending on what the use cases will be, we might see more and more of those become more permanent in the future. There's a huge number of benefits to that, reduction of carbon emissions, the health aspect. It's easy for the users. They can plan their trip whenever they want. It's relatively safe. It's becoming safer. One of our key focuses, as was mentioned earlier as well, is to create those, those areas where people can use active transport, where they feel really safe and they're kind of separated from kind of the heavier vehicles and cars. But a bunch of different stuff like that's happening. I think that there is, broadly, although there might have been a spike in car sales this year, broadly, less and less people are buying new cars. New car sales are dramatically decreasing. And also younger people are waiting longer and longer to get their licenses, and less of them are getting their license to start with. So people are finding the convenience of, rideshare services, and, when these mobility as a service apps become more prevalent, it'll be much easier for people to get from A to B without their own vehicle. So I think we're going to see a lot more rideshare, car share, a lot more kind of shared mobility in terms of micro-mobility and stuff like that in the near term. But yeah, then once again, long-term, automation and electrification is going to be the key.
Got a little bit of a different slant on those stats. So they're a percentage-based thing. So the percentage of younger people getting a license is taking longer, but there's more licenses being issued every year, and there's more cars on our road year on year at the moment. So it's because our population's growing so much, and obviously that might get impacted by COVID and slow it down. But I still think when we look at it, we've got to find ways to get people out of the car and into sustainable transport if we're going to have a real impact to traffic congestion. And I think that's where parking has a really key role to play in that. And a lot of these mobility services, and Placie's obviously a little bit different to the normal ones, because the mobility as a service applications normally don't have anything to do with the driver. They see them as the enemy. And to me, if you want to make the driver, make the motorist part of the solution, educate them on the better. It's going to be quicker if you get the train today, or it's going to be, more cost effective to do something, and they'll get educated and then start to jump on more sustainable transport as they sort of learn about it. But if you don't include them, you can't have that relationship with them, and I think that's where parking has a little bit to play.
Yeah. The multimodal transfers are going to be something that becomes a lot more apparent to customers. So one of the things that we have a bunch of commuter car parks called park and ride stations, and we've created some APIs around their real-time occupancy. So what we're trying to encourage mobility providers to do is to allow people to do that multimodal trip plan. So rather than doing the end-to-end journey in their car all the way into the CBD, they'll stop at one of those hubs, stop at a commuter car park and transfer to a bus or a train. And those, we want the mass kind of transit, to do the heavy lifting. So if we can kind of get better data and get better information for customers around that, I think that there's some great potential to, just kind of tweak the behavior to reduce congestion. But that does mean, there's always going to be areas that are not well serviced by public transport just due to the sheer scale of our cities and them becoming, ever more scattered and broad. But I think that, if we can use data intelligently and kind of create, effective customer information, that type of thing will become a really important part of the mix. So the multimodal trips are going to be really important.
I think the other big piece of it for me is there's a real start to be a real push towards electric as well. And I think electric, vehicles, buses, cars, whatever it might be, there is starting to get that momentum up, and being able to show recharge locations and things like that. And I'm sure Ed's looking to do that on his app. We're overlaying it into the solution we've done with Porsche for the new Taycan. As that gets rolled out, they'll be able to see all the charging locations they can access at the same time as they see all their parking data, which is going to be really cool. We've got a question from Adrian again. So with mobility still based to a large degree on cars, how can we better manage the temptation for mobile phone usage in cars? I might go with you, Silje. You've sort of been, I know you're very focused on the safety aspects. Is there anything that you guys are doing in this space?
Not in terms of mobile phone use. There is a program in New South Wales. I'm not sure if it's a national program where they take a photo of motorists using the phone in their car. It's very successful. They actually they did a soft launch about a year ago, and now they're sending out to people that are using their phones in their car. There's a lot of people still today, which is quite surprising, I think, that are still using their phone, or holding their phone in their hand, or don't have it connected up into the vehicle properly. So, which is a huge concern. So globally, we have about 1.3 million deaths on our road every year. In Australia, it's about 1,100, 1,200, and it's way too high. And in Australia as well, 50,000 hospitalizations every year, and it's a huge number that has to come down. And I think one of the technologies that we could look at to do that is connected mobility, so connected car-to-car technology, car-to-infrastructure technology. I don't think we have to wait for the autonomous vehicle, because that's going to take years to come. But to achieve those safety goals, which is what it's all about, I think vehicle-to-vehicle communication and vehicle-to-infrastructure communication will be key in saving lives.
Yeah, I'll probably echo that. That was a transport program that started last year, and it's basically an automated mobile phone detection camera. So essentially what they're doing is taking machine learning across some vision, and then they're kind of identifying and taking photos of whether people are using their phone, and then charging them off the back end of that based on their registration plate. So I think that a couple of things that are going to happen is basically enforcement will get better, because we're going to start employing, and transport's got some really sophisticated programs happening in the background around the application of these new technologies like machine learning, for example, and these sophisticated vision, softwares that are going to allow us to do these things more effectively. So basically, enforcement's going to discourage people from using their phone in the car. But on top of that, I think that there's going to be a lot better hands-free technology coming out. So you've seen the CarPlay, both Apple and Google have really great in-car application systems. And as those get more sophisticated, and as more new cars come out with those types of systems, we're going to see a lot better apps that are really driver-focused rather than phone user-focused. And when they come out, I think they're going to have a lot better user experience for drivers, and it will be a lot safer, and will allow them to not use the phone as much in the car.
I think, I was just going to say, we've seen some pretty interesting work from some of the taxi and rideshare industry in Australia, and with their dispatch systems, you're always going to have a phone or a tablet or whatever it is. At the moment, it doesn't sync into an Apple Play or into the existing infrastructure of a car. But we've seen some of the rideshare industry having voice activation. So if you've got a booking that comes up on the iPhone sitting at you, you can say, hey, yes, accept, or no, decline, or you can actually voice activate instead of you touching your phone all the time. So we thought that was pretty interesting around that. So, to your point, Dylan, more around that technology, and, the greater technology that comes in, I think that can really actually help the consumer to understand, okay, well, I can actually use Siri to make phone calls in the car, and I actually don't need to touch my phone. And so hopefully we see a lot more of that.
Takes that temptation away, and so we focus on ours. We've got a CarPlay application for parking. So Apple CarPlay released in iOS 14 a parking entitlement. We've been trying to get an entitlement to do something in it for about 18 months, and we've now got in testing, and it's working. The entire solution coming from the dash of the car, so the in-car display. So you'll be able to search, navigate, access, and pay for parking directly from the dash, making it completely safe, and just taking that temptation away to use your phone and things like that. So I think it's I think you're right. The technology is going to take a lot of those temptations away as we move forward. I think it already has in a lot of ways with the voice to text. So your text messages are read out by a voice, and you don't have to look at the screen or touch anything to do that.
Great.
Well, I might just run around. We're starting to run out of time, but I might just run around the panel and just have one last comment, maybe give us an idea of what's happening at Placie going forward. Ed, again, and thanks very much for coming on today.
Thanks, Boston. Yeah, so I mean, at Placie, our biggest next step is putting the app in the App Store. We've been working on this for over 2 years of building and 3 years of planning. So I think that's going to be the big next step is to get it in the App Store and get consumers using it. And as I mentioned, it's going to evolve over time. The more and more time we have, the better integrations are going to come into the app and really present the consumer of all those options, because all this great data that's being presented, right, it needs to be consolidated and aggregated and put somewhere, right? So, and actually allow the consumer to see, okay, well, I didn't know that I could drop my car at that station, or that there's a free park there, or I didn't know that there's really bad traffic there, so maybe I'll walk that last mile. So I guess the focus for us is really launch the app and really start to get some usage out of it, and start generating our own data, to see some trends and to see people's patterns and how they move around the cities.
That's great. I've got no doubt it's going to be a massive success with the car sales brand behind it, and the team obviously you've put together is also amazing. So all the best with it, Ed, and we'll again, thanks for coming on. Just stay there though, don't disappear.
Yeah, of course, all right.
Celia, thanks again for coming on. It's always great to catch up and hear about where QFree is going. Maybe just give us one more plug. You've done pretty good so far, so give us another plug around QFree.
Thanks for the invitation, Moston. No, it's great to be here, great to have a chat. I think we've touched on a very important topic of mobility and how the mobility has changed now during this pandemic as well. And I think the innovation and technology is really the key to unlocking a lot of the challenges that we're facing. So it's great to hear about everything that's going on, and wish everyone good luck.
Thanks, Celia. Always great to catch up. And Dylan, hopefully we'll be able to have some announcements next time I catch up with you.
Potentially, yeah. So yeah, thanks for hosting the session, Boston. It's been great. And it's really great from our perspective. We love working with innovators, tech companies, local startups, big global tech companies, whatever it is. I think for Transport for New South Wales and for our team in particular, it's more of the same. So we're going to be diving back into all of our internal partners, also local councils, trying to provide as much valuable data to the community as possible, and then having as many conversations and running as many programs as we can with the startup community and the whole mobility ecosystem, and just trying to keep that technology loop progressing and provide better services for our customers. That's our focus.
Thanks, Dylan. I think you guys are all doing great work. I think what Placie's doing is going to change some of the things that are happening in that mobility as a service space. QFree's always been on the cutting edge of toll roading and technology around the mobility and safety space. And I've really enjoyed the last few months working with the transport team on a few things, and really amazing what the open transport, open data platform is actually doing for our cities and improving our cities. So thank you again, all three of you, for jumping on today. And thanks everyone that's out there that's watched today, and the people that are watching it recorded later. If you want to get in touch with anyone, just please reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to put you in touch with the panel. And if you want to speak to anyone at UbiPark around anything, again, just reach out, and we'll put you in touch with the right person. Have a great weekend, and look forward to, we'll do this again in December, and we'll come out with all the details in the next few weeks. Thanks very much.